Funny story for you. Remember that shotgun Bungie broke right after we started the Dark Below, and then Bungie, with the broken shotgun, tried to pass it off as a reasonable gun? Didn't work. Come to think of it, broken can have both negative and positive connotations. Like Felwinter's Lie was considered a broken shotgun given its insane power, but in this case I was referring to the broken definition of broken. Broken is in bad, trash, garbage, whatever other synonyms help describe the term. The gun I'm referring to is the Fourth Horseman, and before I get into any specifics, I'll clarify by saying this gun is not outright trash, but there is a glaring issue that gives this weapon no right whatsoever to be considered an exotic weapon. But firstly, if you had to pair one other word with an exotic that would describe them, what word would you choose? Power, flexibility, workhorse? To me, the word I choose is unique. Not just the cosmetic appearance of the weapons either, but they should have something specific that makes it stand out against other legendaries. Just to recap, I hope not too many people said power, or flexibility, or workhorse, but at the very least, even a weapon as situational and non-workhorse as No Land Beyond is unique. It's the only primary sniper rifle which doesn't feature a scope. There are no other legendary weapons that even come close to resembling this weapon, which gives No Land Beyond the right to be considered an exotic weapon. Now let's look at the Fourth Horseman. Putting aside its horrible stats, as that's irrelevant to the weapon being unique, the weapon has 4 barrels, has 4th in the title, whether or not that's just a coincidence, but has 5 shells with arguably the worst, most mundane perks of an exotic. Just to recall what happened to this weapon, its exotic perk Thunderer, which now grants full auto, used to allow all 4 barrels to be fired at once. That's a lot of damage, so I can see why it may have raised a few eyebrows when it was first implemented, but the only reason I can think of as to why this idea was scrapped was that it would have been too strong in the Crucible. Granted, this was back when special ammo spawned all the time and gave you way more shots per pickup, but this was also the same era when Felwinter's Lie came on the scene. While the Fourth Horseman would have had far more impact had it shot all 4 shells at once, it was an all or nothing shot, with terrible downtime, terrible practicality, and still wouldn't have been able to compete with Felwinter's Lie anyway. The sheer range difference of the 2 shotguns still would have given Felwinter's Lie the upper hand. But that doesn't matter, so Bungie makes the extremely unique 4-round Thunderer perk into something you can get on any legendary shotgun, plus the Return to Sender and Final Round perks, also seen on legendary shotguns at the time. I'm indifferent on the Final Round perk. It's boring but always effective, but the Return to Sender perk is another story which I'll get into later. So given that the gun was changed, you think they would at least give it perks that would complement its archetype, right? It has 5 shells, shoots very rapidly with horrible base range and high recoil, but it's okay because it has reasonable stability to compensate for this high recoil. But it runs into the same problem that all automatic shotguns have, the balance between the range and the stability. On the Fourth Horseman, you need to make a choice whether you want more range or more stability from the middle tree perks, but this effectively gives the same outcome. Think about it, say you have high range and low stability. You'll be able to hit things at further distance, but the recoil will be so poor that to have any chance of fully autoing a target, they essentially need to be barrel stuffing range. This makes the high range perk redundant if you need to be that close to the target. Now look at the low range and high stability loadout. It's the same thing, you still need to be barrel stuffing range, but at least the recoil is much more manageable. This is the case on most automatic shotguns, case in point on the Stolen Will with full auto, not really giving the Fourth Horseman any reason to be considered an exotic. What about the Return to Sender perk, which has a small chance to return a bullet to the mag upon getting a kill? This makes no sense on this type of weapon. It's a fast-firing, magazine-emptying DPS machine, intended for high health targets, not measly red health one-shot enemies. The weapon intends to kill an enemy by dumping all 5 shells at them, and assuming you killed the enemy, putting a shell back in the chamber from Return to Sender is pointless. Had you not killed the enemy, that extra shell would have been much more useful, but that's not what the perk does. That's a good point actually, having a perk like Triple Tap on the Fourth Horseman except it works just by hitting the target, where rapid hits would put a shell back in the chamber, that at least would play into its archetype. But no, Return to Sender it is. Awesome. The worst part is, this weapon was introduced at a time when shotguns and PvE were worthless. Had the Fourth Horseman worked as intended, it would have been a shining light in a very dark weapon subclass. Not only did they have to change its only redeeming feature, they slaughtered it and didn't even try to implement something else worthwhile. It does nothing to entice use over Invective, Stolen Will, Two to the Morgue, Lord of Wolves, the Comedian, or literally any other legendary shotgun that can roll with the same perks. I get it. The Fourth Horseman is not alone in the mediocre department of exotic weapons, but at least those exotic weapons, such as the First Curse, Strix, Promise, Queenbreaker's Bow, Hardlight, Super Good Advice, etc., have something that only that weapon has. The Fourth Horseman has nothing that other weapons have, or at least did have. All I want to see is the Thunderer perk return to its true form, so that maybe, just maybe, it could actually be considered an exotic weapon. Just quickly, in the current state of the Crucible with restricted special ammo spawns, you would absolutely deserve a kill using the Fourth Horseman Thunderer perk, given you need to sacrifice all your special ammo just for that kill. It could easily serve a purpose as a super countermeasure, such as tackling an Armor of Light Titan or a Radiant Skinned Sunsinger. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Rating and subbing is appreciated. Catch ya.